Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Content Creation and Your Library webinar. My name is George Bergstrom, and I'm the Southwest Regional Coordinator from the Indiana State Library's Professional Development Office. I will be the presenter today, or the moderator today, and our presenter is Jen Bartlett, Head of Reference at Manchester Public Library in Manchester, Connecticut. I'd like to start off the webinar with a few quick announcements. To register for other webinars or other trainings available from the Professional Development Office, please see the Indiana State Library's events calendar, which can be found at our website, www.in.gov/library. This session is 1 hour, so you'll get one TLEU for today. If you're watching the recording, the instructions on how to obtain your TLEU are available in the video's description on YouTube, or you can also find the instructions on the Indiana State Library's continuing education website under the LEU policies. Without further ado, I will now turn the presentation over to Jen.
Woo! Thanks, George. Thank you to George and the Indiana State Library. I know George from GameRT, and which is the Games and Gaming Roundtable through ALA. So I'm super happy to do this. This is not my normal wheelhouse. I usually am talking about board games. So a little test of my creativity and knowledge base here too. But I love expanding that and talking about something I've done for a longer time than I've probably wanted to do. So I am not in Indiana, I'm out in Connecticut. As George said, I'm the Head of Reference and Adult Services. And we'll get started. I have purposefully made this presentation pretty broad and pretty loose too. I really do want to answer some of your questions. So please really do use the chat feature, and I'll try my best to see them and to answer them as we're going along. I'm going to be switching back and forth a lot between this presentation and like the practical use. So I'll be on Canva, I'll be on Facebook, I'll be on Instagram on my web browser. So we'll be doing some switching back and forth. And let's get started. Some of you already answered my first question, which was drop in the chat what you are currently doing for social media. So I've seen from some folks that you're already doing Facebook, some are doing Instagram, someone was doing Niche Academy, which I won't talk about today. That's not something in my wheelhouse. I saw Twitter, I saw a whole bunch of, wow, you all are awesome, so quick. YouTube, which is really great. Some are doing live story times too, which is great. Oh, I can't read these fast enough. Excellent, excellent. If you're doing something super unique, I'd love Snapchat. All right, cool. One person I saw was doing TikTok. I won't be talking about that today, and I'll give a recommendation on who to go to talk about that. Just scrolling through what your gamers rock. Yes, Janice, they absolutely do. And George agrees with us. We do rock. We're super cool folks. Reels on Instagram, haven't joined TikTok yet. Reading to a dog, Facebook Live, I love that. Facebook, but another staff member uses Instagram too. Cool. All right. So our goals are that we're really going to be starting in Canva. We started using Canva at my library back in 2019, and I feel like it was a super big game changer for us. Most of us librarians, and I feel like we can all admit this, we're not graphic designers, and we're not great necessarily at creating exciting graphics or flyers or events or whatever to our public that make our patrons be like, wow, that they don't pop some. And I've seen this all across the country. I want you to feel more confident using Facebook and Instagram and applying some of the stuff that we're going to be showing in Canva. And then just be inspired to go out, spread this to your constituency, whether it's whatever level, for state, public, academic, small, whatever. and that you can use it in a meaningful way. Sydney here is commenting that she is a graphic designer. Oh, we love you. And she uses Canva and thinks it's an amazing tool. So we do have someone on staff who was in their prior life a graphic designer. So some of our stuff are images that they have created, but I'm going to be showing you on my end. Yeah, he uses GIMP too, Sarah. So thank you for that. He has a really strong background in that. So all of our summer reading graphics are from him, but we kind of use it and implement it. About me. Professionally, I am the head of reference and adult services at Manchester Public Library. As I mentioned, I've been in this capacity for 3 years, and I've been the social media coordinator since 2020. There's a little bit of a story about that. I'll go into it some momentarily. Personally, most folks out in the gaming library land and in the gaming industry know me as the board game librarian. So I'm going to show you some of my personal stuff too that I use, and kind of examples of things that have worked and things that haven't worked, because there is a lot that sometimes just doesn't work. I've writing this down, I went, oh man, I'm getting old. I've done social media and marketing for a variety of fields since 2008, right when I got out of college. And back when using social media as a marketing tool was quite a new concept. Seems like it was a long time ago, but it really wasn't. I started doing social media and marketing for, of all fields, podiatry. I worked in the medical field before library land, and did social media and marketing for 2 different podiatry groups. So if I could make feet look exciting and make people want to go call their podiatrist, it was easier in library land. I don't know. So that's me over there. My hair isn't dark anymore, but yay, games. So feet are exciting. Yeah, they can be for some folks and not for some other folks. I do want to, well, we'll get to this. So when I joined our library in 2014, I came from a library that had really used social media quite well. And this was in 2014, and having a really strong background in social media and marketing, it was a surprise to me when I came to this institution and there was no social media at all, none. No Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, no Goodreads, no blogging at all, even blogs. And my boss for a very, 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 very long time refused to do it. And I think that's a little more common than even I thought it was, where for a variety of reasons, and some of it being Freedom of Information Act, fear of comments from the public, copyright issues, fair use issues, that our directors, our supervisors are not necessarily down with social media. And it took almost 6 years for me to convince my boss that we had to do this. It was getting to like a breaking point where even like our senior center here in town was doing social media. And I'm like, oh, this is bad. This is really, 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 really bad. So it might have actually been 2019, I'm sorry, but it was still a really long period of time. If you're in this capacity where you're fighting this fight, let me know in the chat too, because there are folks out there who want to do social media and they just aren't. So hooray, we're started. Awesome. I would like to talk a bit about inspiration, which to me is perhaps the hardest part of doing social media. And I've heard it called social media grind before, like a dirge. Finding social media inspiration in terms of content to post is the hardest part. The actually posting it and sometimes creating it is not so bad. It's the, what am I posting today? We all go out. We all go through these periods. It's It can be really hard. So I have kind of a list here of sorts that things that have worked, things that haven't worked, things that we've done, things that are awesome. Book displays, programs, new books, library history, staff. I'll get back to that. Weird places in the library. I'll get back to that too. Behind the scenes, also another one. Articles, polls, votings, videos, lists, readers advisory, local history, or literally anything. Whew. So I think sometimes we get very caught up in that it has to be serious or appropriate. I mean, it has to be appropriate of sorts, but that it can't be staff being goofballs, or it can't be like these weird places in the library that the public doesn't normally see, that we are kind of giving them behind the scenes access to. Local history sometimes works for us. I think once you open your mind to the possibility that anything is what you can post, it's somewhat freeing, but it also can be very overwhelming for some folks too. We have had super great luck with voting. We've had, and I'll show you our prime example from the summer of voting with our summer reading. Weird Places in the Library has been also really super popular with behind the scenes things. Staff are also really popular too, but you have to have staff that are willing to be on social media. So you have to find those folks. And sometimes programs too, but that can vary. We've had hit or miss luck with videos. We've had hit or miss luck with articles. Those tend to be our least popular items, but pertinent too. And those kind of keep you in that realm of being appropriate and sharing too. I'll mention that there's always recommended in social media land for a very good balance of content that you yourself create and stuff that you are sharing, stuff that's not in-house, those articles, other libraries, things. Also say too, memes, almost always still, even in this day, Twitter screenshots, literally anything. And I'm seeing some good stuff in the comments here. Time-lapse video of taping and painting a mosaic tile mural. Lots of views. Thank you, Nicole. That's great. Another Cassia, I'm sorry if I said your name incorrectly. She does social media for a genealogy department, and photos of people and shelves are most popular. Yeah. Book faces, we've done those with mixed success. We haven't done those somewhat recently, but yeah, book faces still in many libraries super popular. So this is some things that can maybe inspire you, depending on what kind of library you're at, to maybe try something new. We were for a really long time doing like a New Book Tuesday, where like on a Monday night, we would do a preview of the things that were coming out on Tuesday. That was hit or miss. So I'm going to get back to scheduling and timing and stuff like that too, and how many times a day to post, like what I think is a good recommendation. All right, cool. Canva. I saw in the chat that some folks are already using Canva, which is amazing. No more ugly social media posts or graphics. Hooray! So if you aren't familiar with Canva, Canva is generally a free platform that you can use online, and you can use it as an app on your phone too. Like, don't always love it as much as an app on the phone, where you can create lots of different things. someone had commented earlier in the chat that they had tried to get their library as one of the free institutions. So Canva will, for not-for-profits, after an application process, give you access to some of the more exclusive, I should say, not necessarily even pro content. We also tried to get in as a not-for-profit and we were rejected. And I had even sent along in as our proof, our tax exempt certificate, which we have out here in Connecticut. I don't know what for your folks, what your situation is in Indiana, what you would have to use as proof. But they rejected us. And for our purposes, using the free it's been fine. It can be a little more limiting because I feel like there's always that image that is perfect and it's the pro and you'd have to pay for it. So, I'm going to exit full screen and we are going to head over to Canva. So, this is Canva's interface right here. And after you sign up for a free account, and I generally use my work email, although I have been not great and I've put some of my personal stuff on here, shame on me. You have access to all of this stuff. So today, for the first time ever, did their presentation option. I've used Google Slides for a really long time or PowerPoint, but I wanted to see how this worked and it's been okay so far. So you have access to flyers, posters, Instagram posts, logos that you can create, a whole smorgasbord of stuff, resumes, business cards. I, for the most part, use flyers, Facebook posts, and Facebook event covers. So when you search Canva, you can search for whatever kind of thing that you are looking to use. And that can be a variety of things. You can create YouTube thumbnails on here, which are super great and helpful. And I'll show you some examples on there. But Canva can do a variety of anything. Oh, I have a Facebook message from my husband. Great. Let's head over to flyers. You can search templates, do a variety of different things. You can see some of the things that I've searched here somewhat recently. So one of the programs that I'm doing soon is on fatherhood. We have a fatherhood coordinator at our local hospital who's going to be coming in and talking about fathers. So sometimes it starts off with a spark of an idea, a program that you are doing, and going from there. This one in particular, I had used for a Fireside Author series, and then I amended it. The great thing about Canva is that you can completely use it as is and then just change out the text. Canva does have proprietary images that you have to pay for, and you can tell generally by the watermark that's on here. So you can switch those out pretty easily. And most of the time it's a fill in the blank kind of situation. So when you click in, you can say fatherhood, Kwasim, the gentleman that's going to be do it. You can switch out typesets, all different kinds of things. One of my most favorite things I like using this for is for Facebook event covers. And that was another thing that really for me was like a game changer too. And we're going to be switching to a new website too, where we had been uploading flyers as part of our events, and it was just a huge hassle. So I have a program coming up next month with an author. I kept it somewhat basic. I didn't want it to be super witchy because she's using witches in terms of like the witch trials out here in Connecticut, and I didn't want it to be super stereotypical. But Canva allows you to upload images that you have So we have a huge variety of stuff here. The author, a pumpkin program that we're coming up, and you can modify images, crop them. You can add elements in. So an element can be anything from images that they have already, and you can search fathers. Canva, you can tell with Canva in terms of things are free or not, just because it'll say free. Or by scrolling down as well, it'll have the little pro on there. So the event covers I've really liked because they fit quite nicely in the events, and we'll talk about that momentarily. I'm going to go back to the chat and see what folks are adding in. Yep, other great options for other places that you can get stuff in. I see Pixabay, Pexels, Morgfile.com, good images, copyright free. So the nice thing that is good about Canva is all of their images are copyright free, which is what I love. Part of the problem to me with coming up with flyers from outside sources was finding stuff that was copyright free. And you can, on Google Images, find stuff, and you can, there's certain advanced features that you can do, but I do like this a lot. Anne asks, probably get to this, Canva allow you to enter alt text or image descriptions? Yeah, I think you can. And, you know, if you were looking, if someone had perhaps maybe a colorblind issue and couldn't see the image, you could add in a text box over here, and then add in a heading, subheading. With, hopefully that's answering your question too. And if it's not, I can come back to it. Yeah, resizing. Yeah, so the nice thing about Canva too is that all of these posts are going to fit nicely on the platform that you are using. So when we go back to Canva Home and you search like Facebook post, it's going to be the appropriate size. It's going to be the appropriate number of pixels too, because Facebook can be quite picky about the minimum pixels. I think it's like 260 by 260 that you can upload. And if it's too small a file, it'll reject it. So sometimes just adding this in right away from Canva is really great. There's so many different things on here. Even if we do a blank Facebook post as an example, and like love this image. It's a really great image. You can adapt it to whatever you're looking to adapt, even if you yourself have no graphic design background. It's the thing I love about Canva is that it's super user friendly, and you could publish it right to Facebook if you have the two linked. I don't necessarily always do that because I don't necessarily always want those to be connected, because I'm running two separate things. I'm running one for myself and one from work. But you could do it that way. When you download it, you get a couple of different options for whatever works best for you. Generally, I use PNG, or if I'm doing a file, I do PDF print. And Canva too, if you've used an image and you didn't notice it, if it is one of the ones that is going to cost you money, it will bounce that right away. It'll tell you it's X dollars or whatever. Any questions about Canva that I haven't answered here? More alt text that is read by screen readers, but not, oh, read. Okay, so it actually like reads it to you. I do not think so. Yeah, thanks, George. You might be able to add it in somewhere else. You're almost looking for like a sound bite then, Anne, almost. Possibly, but that'd be another layer. I'd have to get back to you. Oh, you can add audio. So I would presume that if you can upload something, you would probably be able to upload an audio clip, and then you'd be able to put it right there in the image. But I would think that you would probably be able to save that as an MP4. So someone would be able to play it instead of like looking at it. Cool. All right. I am going to stop share for a moment so I can make the Facebook message from my husband go away. So I will be momentarily back. Cool. All right, I'm back. So Canva. The thing to me about Canva is really just playing with it and not being afraid of it, like so many things too. And the same with any of the social media platforms, is playing with it and just being comfortable with it. So Facebook, what is it good for? Good question. Over the years, I think we've all seen the data and the articles that our younger folk are not really using Facebook. It's us millennials and forward that are using a lot of Facebook. They're using TikTok, they're using Instagram, and that's great, that's awesome. But so for the demographics here in town, we were really, especially for adults, since that's my service area, we really wanted to hit Facebook pretty hard. And Facebook does have our most views, our most comments, our most interaction. So I like using Facebook a lot for the events. And the good thing about Facebook is, I guess, that it's Facebook. You can either love it or hate it, but I feel like it's something that we just need to be doing. So back over to Facebook. Oh, there's my husband. Sorry to interrupt. This is our Facebook page, and you're going to get all of my notifications. I am really sorry. So this is an example of one of the Facebook covers that we had used. We try to switch out our cover every month to keep it fresh, to keep it pertinent. And this particular cycle, we are focusing on National Hispanic Heritage Month. I like doing that because it keeps Facebook page fresh, and they're pretty easy to create in Canva because there's an option for a Facebook cover. You can easily switch it out. Oh boy, now we're gonna embarrass myself. And Facebook. Just switched over within the last couple of days. We switched to where you can manage it differently. I don't know if anyone else has done that, but you can edit your cover photo. It's super easy to drop something in from your downloads. So we've been doing a series, and these are all images that are created on Canva. So every day we focus on a Hispanic or Latinx author and one of their most recent books. So this is an example of something that's not super popular. We do it because we feel it's a great way to highlight our BIPOC authors that are here, and the town of Manchester here in Connecticut has made a pretty firm commitment to diversity and inclusion. So one of the things that we do is we feature something like this here, and then we circle back to our catalog too. We're doing that by creating a tiny URL. If you've never used that before, that is also a really great thing. But this is, to me, a really great opportunity, even if people aren't necessarily using it, of showcasing your collection, showcasing certain segments of authors in your collection, and linking back to your catalog too, so driving traffic back to your catalog. So I did that for all of the ones that we are showcasing this month. But as you can see, I scheduled it at 8 o'clock this morning. It's now 10:30. I've gotten 0 likes. The other thing that I was talking about too is staff pictures. This is one of our children's librarians, Crystal, and this is another linkable option where it goes out to our YouTube page. But here she is featuring our story time book for that evening. So one comment, and that happens to be a staff member, 12 likes and 3 shares. And you can track all of this too when you're in there. So here's an example of an article, which I had indicated weren't necessarily our most popular things. We are hoping to get a brand new library next year. It has to go out to referendum, and we've been doing a series on what other libraries offer that we don't, which is so much. This happened to be a little more popular because it's been an ongoing series, but that's kind of an anomaly. Another service that we offer, but this was again created in Canva. So you can upload your own images right here. You can add your own context, but these are basically just clip art images from Canva. Going down to an event. Everything is different on here. So our walking book club is an example of using Canva and an image. So back when we were in quarantine, I had our graphic designer person that I work with create all of these kind of static images that we could reuse again and again and again for things that we have again and again and again. So what I like about this too is not only is it good for Facebook, but you can also repurpose this in other PR that you are doing. I use this to send out to the town. I use this to send out to local newspapers. So they're good, high quality things that are, again, attractive, dynamic, and in this case, diverse too. We have a diverse group of folks here. The thing about Facebook events is that it can really drive traffic, even in terms of from search engines too. It's a good opportunity for your event to live somewhere other than your website or in-house for your marketing. And it can work really well. It can be super great or super frustrating. The thing with Facebook too, and you'll notice, is my least favorite thing, which is the number of guests that respond. We don't use an external event calendar kind of thing where folks can sign up or register. So depending on how you internally do things, it can be good or bad. I'm trying to determine how many folks are coming. And I'm gonna go back. Can you direct users to a catalog record for e-resource that doesn't require easy proxy maybe? Does your catalog require off-campus folks to log in? So our catalog is, I should mention too, out here in Connecticut, we run by towns. We're really weird and wacky. We don't run on a county system. New England in general is a little funky like that. So you can have access to our catalog even if you don't live in that area and you don't have to log in. Going back up, when I've tried to post links on Facebook to specific library electronic resources using a URL, I don't have a solution to that. That particular link seemed to work okay, and we have linked to Hoopla before. I don't know if you're using TinyURL, Bradley, maybe that's a workaround for you. And Sarah's commenting on Business Suite. I feel like I have a love-hate relationship. Oh, Nancy, yes. I love that you used a bunch of just symbols there on Business Suite. Yeah, so even the new Business Suite, which I haven't even really looked at in the last couple of days, even they changed even that, which was super annoying. Because, and I'll go back, they're switching all of the Facebook pages over to what I had shown before, where I had to switch. Then you have to go to manage, which comes up to this professional dashboard, which to me is like, I don't care. It gives you some post reaches, your engagements, new followers. Yay, great. That's awesome for statistics. But like, if you want to look at your notifications, where do you go? Oh, well, it's all the way over here under Business Suite. Then you have to switch. So come on, Facebook. It does its thing, which seems like literally an eon. It brings you to a dashboard, and then you'd have to go over here to notifications. And what we've used this for is to invite folks to like the page you hadn't. Comments too are like in your inbox sometimes. Your Facebook comments, your actual inbox. So it's really sending you through all of this. You probably could do a workaround with just scrolling through your page and inviting people from there. The other thing I don't like about the new Business Suite too is when you go back, and here I am going back. I'm going back. Oh, maybe they changed this. They changed it. Okay. It used to be super ridiculous. Like you would get stuck in like a Facebook loop and it wouldn't bring you back to this main page. Like you'd have to go up to your history and then find it where it was the actual page. So those are that. I wanted to show you an example of voting. So I don't know if any of you have done voting situations, and this is going, so I have to switch back. Switch now. I hope they fix that you aren't going to have to do that every time. But in the summertime, we had done a voting thing where for our summer reading theme, like many of you folks, it was animals, it was pets. And we had folks vote. This is going to be easier. On their favorite cat and their favorite dog. So when you talk about wild things and interaction, getting people to vote on their favorite animal apparently was a thing that we needed to do. We had done something similar back in quarantine times where we had folks, we are essentially doing this like a March Madness bracket, where we start off with 32 potential winners, and then they vote, and it just gets narrower and narrower. And they vote, I have them vote by commenting, and then I count the comments. But this has been wildly popular. So if you're looking for engagement at your library and in terms of getting people to interact, I said to my boss, great, so all the readers advisory things that we do, all the other stuff, they just wanted to vote on their favorite cat or dog. Who knew? So as you can see, one of the winners was a Maine Coon. Excellent choice. And no surprise, the dog winner was Golden Retriever. But you can see 32 compared to my 0 for National Hispanic Heritage Month, and then 4 comments. And like decent comments too. Someone going, what a good boy. Of course, look at that pupper. That pupper's super cute. Other things that have been popular that we like, and these sometimes can be very hit or miss, are ones that are like this, where they are open-ended questions and folks are able to get some discussion going in the comments. Sometimes we as staff have to get it going. My coworker Valerie is one of our staff, and then here I am too. But 14 comments, so for us, that's not terrible. And then sometimes other folks will interact with other folks. Other things like this, which are just those shared options that I talked about, 54 likes, a couple of comments, a couple of shares. I also talked about people. So social media loves pictures of people. People doing things, people holding things, people in the wild, just people. It loves people. This was one of our teen summer reading winners. Super cute kid, super happy that he won something. You can see over here, 128 likes, 6 comments, and a couple of shares. Those tend to be, again, are some of our more popular options as well. They don't even have to use Canva on that. It's just an organic thing that happens. Other popular things tend to be, like I said, this weirdness in our library with our super old stairs, got some comments going over here. And we kept it pretty easy breezy too. And this goes up to our mezzanine where a lot of little kids stand at the bottom of these stairs and want to go upstairs. It's kind of a dangerous place of sorts, so they should not be going upstairs. I talked a little about groups too. This isn't something that we have done as much as, and I'm super careful with what I share to these groups. So in many towns, there are often town Facebook groups that are run by individuals out in the community. And they are, so for example, we have a Manchester CT message board or Manchester 411. I will sometimes share things that I think will not be controversial to these groups, because we all know how these groups go. Some things can spark conversation that is really good, and some posts can spark conversation where it just brings a lot of trolls out. And in terms of publicity and how the library is perceived, my boss is very careful about that as well. So something like this would be a really great thing to share to a group. My goal this fall is to get our children's librarians and our teen librarian involved in more like the Mommy and Me groups that are local, that they can share these events out to. Events, comments, all these other things. How do we obtain consent for patron posts? Okay, so Madison, I'm not sure if you're asking if it's a patron generated post or taking pictures of patrons. So here in Connecticut, our law is that if you are in the public, you do not have to ask for consent. I do not know what your rules and laws are out in Indiana. Maybe there's someone in the chat who knows that better, but for us here, we do not have to ask because we are a public building and you're attending a public event. Now, that being said, our children's librarians do, when they are taking pictures of a program, like this past summer when we had a llama come out, it was outside, of course there were small children there. Sometimes they are purposeful in how they angle the picture, so small children's faces aren't in there, or if it's, if we've done a character, like every March for Dr. Seuss's birthday, someone dresses up as the Cat in the Hat. So we have like a little character meet and greet of sorts. We will ask a parent, hey, do you mind if we take this picture? It is going to be on our social media page. Our children's librarians in particular are very sensitive to that. And some parents will say no, some parents don't care. But at least here in Connecticut, that's what our situation is. We don't have to have like any kind of written form or where something is signed off. So going back, yep, I love Sarah Reed. Got to use clickbait tactics. You won't believe which dog is the least liked. Yeah, I feel like that too. anything that you can do that is going to make people excited about your post, which is appropriate and within the realm of whatever your boss, or if you are the boss, is going to be okay with. Because again, too, you're responsible for all of this, and you always want it to best reflect the library. Unless you're allowed at your library to put quote unquote controversial stuff out there. It's a very fine line to walk. Going back, Sydney says, I feel like getting people to interact with content is like pulling teeth. Yeah, it can be. Oh, George, you had a golden, I'm sorry. Yeah, and it's tough that if you don't personally use Facebook. So we have a social media team here at my library, and while I am like the head person and I'm the one who generally moderates everything, we schedule stuff. It's tough if you are not a Facebook user yourself. Our new teen librarian just created a dummy Facebook account for herself using her work email. So she kind of separated the two so she wouldn't have to have her personal stuff and her work stuff going. Shonda says, we include a statement on the registration form that photos will be taken at events, posted on our Facebook page, that by registering their child, parents agree to that. That's a great option. I love that. Patron disgruntled child was included in a storytime photo. Yeah, I mean, there's always those folks. There's literally always those folks. So that's Facebook. I do kind of somewhat want to move on to Instagram. If you have any more stuff you want to talk about in the chat, that's awesome. But I'm seeing, George, that we're getting close to 11 o'clock and I'm a talker. So, all right. On Instagram, I'm going to talk probably a little more about, I'll show you both, but my personal Instagram. So the thing with Instagram, even more than Facebook, I would say, is that faces rule of sorts. Our posts that have had non-faces definitely do not tend to be as popular as other things. So 5 likes, 1 comment, 14, 1 comment, the comment's probably me, 18, 0. And a lot of these tend to be more, yeah, so you can see faces, and this is a staff member's children, so she was okay with putting her children on social media, but you can clearly see 27 versus 9, although this one did have pretty good engagement. Here's the thing about posting. My general rule of thumb when it comes to posting on social media is to be very specific with the time of day that you are posting and the amount of times that you are posting. There is such a thing as too much posting. I would definitely say, and here we post things twice a day, generally between 9 and 1, and then anytime after 1, but tending towards the end of the night. So when you look at your engagement, and you can specifically see some of this on, I do not want to block myself. Instagram, you can see the times of day when people are interacting the most with your content. Broadly, that tends to be before people are going to work, lunchtime, and after work. So we'll say before 9 a.m., 12 to 2-ish, and then 5 and on. A lot of times those tend to be our most heavily engaged posts when they are posted or scheduled that way. I'm also a firm believer in not posting too much. We also post twice a day because then you're inundating people, and it's even more content you have to figure out, post it, schedule it, do the whole thing. On the weekends, we only post once a day. And that I try to get usually early morning to catch folks before they end up doing stuff and they're out for the day at events or working or church or whatever they have to do on a weekend. that's my general rule of thumb, because when you're posting too much, you're annoying people too. Think to yourself, if there's a page that you like and you follow, if your entire feed is just things that they have done or posted, it's super annoying. Cassia says that 5:30 a.m. is best. Yeah. Again, you're probably catching people at like a really sweet time before they go into work. Maybe genealogists as a whole are early morning people. I don't know. You could maybe answer that yourself. Lisa comments, I haven't found anything I love for scheduling Instagram posts. So scheduling can be up and down of sorts. You can use something like Hootsuite to schedule posts. You can use the new Business Suite, which definitely allows you to schedule stuff for Facebook. The problem with something like Hootsuite, though, is that if you're using a lot of hashtags on your Instagram content to try to drive content and people to your page, is that those hashtags, at least the last time I used Hootsuite, are going to carry over to Facebook. And you don't necessarily want to be clogging up your Facebook post with all of those hashtags and tags. So our Instagram posting tends to be a lot more organic, and when we do it, that seems to work okay for us. Yeah, so shadow banned, Rachel says that, yeah, Christine, so shadow banned, my understanding is just that you're not like going to show up as much in people's feeds. Rachel, if you have a different comment on that, that's great too. So all of our content on Instagram is basically the same content that we're using. We haven't really delved that much into videos on here, but that's on the horizon. Cool, we moved on to this. So I want to briefly say why I have not talked about Twitter and why I have not talked about TikTok. There's a really great webinar series out there from someone named Kelsey. I believe her name is Kelsey, on TikTok. It's a 3-part series where she goes from inspiration and kind of the what of TikTok to the creating on TikTok, and then some more nitty-gritty stuff. She's an expert on it. I am not a TikTok expert, so hence why I did not talk about it. All right, Twitter. I hate Twitter. I hate it with every fiber of my being, even more than I hate doing Facebook. Facebook to me is somewhat palatable. You can moderate comments of sorts. There's all kinds of psychology out there about Twitter. And if you're a YouTube fan, I highly recommend watching Lindsay Ellis and her video that she did within the last 6 months about Twitter and how it's literally designed for vitriol. I've seen libraries use Twitter, but with even less success than Instagram and Facebook. I personally use Twitter on my own stuff, and it is my least used forum. Instagram is my best used forum because in board game land, board games are mostly pictures. It's great. You can do all that kind of stuff. Twitter to me, I think, opens up a lot of opportunities for trolls to come out. I don't think interaction is super great from patrons. I'll put a big emphasis on that, from your patrons. I have done Twitter for other capacities, and it was basically other librarians and other libraries commenting or sharing my stuff. And from that, it was other librarians or other libraries sharing my stuff. The actual amount of patrons who were interacting with stuff was so negligible, it wasn't even funny. If you've used, yeah, Jamie says our interaction on Twitter is pretty non-existent. The TikTok expert, Rochelle, oh goodness. If you Google TikTok library webinar and Kelsey, Kelsey, I think it should be the #1 thing that comes up. Oh, and awesome. You get more interaction on Twitter than Facebook for the most part, but you're a university library. Yeah, so that to me is it right there. So part of it, knowing your audience too, and knowing your community is like the #1 thing we learn in library land, right? Our public is not on Twitter by and large. So for us, it's not worth it. I also, for me, didn't feel like, so what was I going to put on there? Like, again, the same content that I was putting up on Facebook and Instagram. Ooh, yay, yawn. You could throw links up there, but links on Twitter are really weird sometimes. Twitter is also super unuser friendly, where if you make a spelling or grammatical error in the tweet, you cannot correct it. So for us as librarians, that drives us nuts. You'd have to delete the tweet and then go back and repost it. And sometimes by the time you've posted it and noticed, you've already gotten, like, at least for my board game stuff, you've gotten comments and likes and shares, and then it's too late. Like, you can't do it. It's just too late. So that's Twitter. I again, if you're using it and having great success, cool, awesome on you. Email me. I'd love to hear what you're doing. That's so great. I think that's the awesome part about doing stuff like this, that we can share ideas and really encourage each other too. And I've seen a lot of that awesome stuff in the chat. You're great. And I'm going to briefly touch on YouTube, just in terms of doing, using Canva for YouTube thumbnails and things like that. My YouTube thumbnails are no like high level stuff over here, but at least it's making it somewhat more attractive. And having thumbnails is key. It helps add to the algorithms. It helps add to if people are going to click on it or not. Another thing that is also super helpful on YouTube, and if you're not doing this, and let's say you're putting a story time up there and you have multiple books and or crafts, you want to put chapters in. Oh, yay. So you're going to see my lovely face. So this was a Canva Facebook post that I repurposed and put as part of my intro on our video. But when you scroll down to the comments, the description in here, and you click on show more, you can add in chapters. So that's something you do on your end. You have to go back to the initial video, and let's say story 1 is brown bear, you would put brown bear, and then the timestamp. This is hugely helpful. It's another thing that helps your algorithm on YouTube. And it's also friendly for folks who maybe have already seen your brown bear story time and they want to move on to the craft, or they've paused the video and they want to move on to something else. YouTube also can allow you to have comments or no comments. It can also allow you to delete or hide comments. On my personal level, I delete comments. On a professional level, my boss wants us to hide them because of FOI. It will depend on your particular situation. Cool. I'm going to stop. It's 11 o'clock. If you have questions that you haven't put in there, let me know. Yay.
And as everyone is thinking about their questions, I'm going to drop the form in the chat one more time. If you need the TLU for today's presentation, be sure to fill that out. And so someone asked, how do you feel about using hashtags on Facebook?
I don't love them on, and I'm going to go back here. I do love that cat. If you want to email me, if you have any more specific questions or anything I didn't cover, it's super love to hear from you. And I don't necessarily consider myself an expert either. Like, I think so many of us are learning this on the fly. We have no formal training, and that even just listening in on a webinar like this, you can sometimes take one tidbit of inspiration and go from there. So hopefully I didn't bore you to death.
Next question I see is, do you know the difference between Facebook engagements and reach?
Yeah, engagements is the folks that are actually like doing something with the post. They're actually clicking on the link that you have put up there. They're liking the post, they're commenting on the post, they're sharing the post. The reach is basically how many eyeballs saw it when they were on a desktop situation or on a smart device of some sorts, and they saw it there. So for some folks, you might be able to count those statistics for your purposes. I don't know in Indiana if you do social media statistics as like a measurable thing. We don't hear, and I love that we would hear too, because this is a lot of time and work. It is a lot of time and work. I spent a lot of time on social media every single day, not only from the library, but my public's personal stuff that I do too. One of the best recommendations that I ever heard was, if you want your social media to be better, you yourself have to be a better social media user. So you have to be consuming content, and it's okay to like adapt something for your own purposes too. That's okay, as long as you're not like outright copying something. But that's a lot of times where I get some of my inspiration too. Kind of going through, seeing if there's any questions. How do you convince your boss to let you spend time on social media stuff? So that was a struggle. That was like a multi-year struggle of getting him even to agree to the social media as a thing. But once I said to him that we're doing this, it became part of my job. You can spend as little time on this as you want, or as much time, I suppose, depending on how much time your boss will let you do it. But I think too, using examples of other successful libraries and what they are doing can be a good, like, proof is in the pudding kind of thing. Because again, it takes time to build your audience. It takes time to create content that is worth their eyeballs. Rochelle says, yeah, it can be very time consuming. Oh yeah, a lot. And two, you have to be active on there too. So if there's folks that are commenting, you need to be commenting back, or at least liking what they are commenting. It can't just be like a whole bunch of your public commenting and you doing nothing with it. You need to be engaging with them too. It's definitely a tit for tat kind of thing. Growing your numbers, the best way to do that is organically. There's a bunch of really super shady things that can be done privately. You can buy followers, you can buy bots. I highly suggest staying away from all of that. To me, not only is that unethical, but it's just shady. It's shady. I think some of it is just, especially if you're new on Facebook, is sharing content to some of those really super local groups, curating a group of people that you know are likely going to share stuff. So our staff members will share our content, and especially those who live here in town, they know other folks in town who will then go to our Facebook pages. It takes time. Even that, like the number, how many do we have here now? We have 26,000. That took several years for us to get to that point. And then our Instagram here, a little over 1,000, and that's small compared to some folks. On Instagram, a lot of Instagram is going out and following, and then hoping some folks will follow you back. Yeah, YouTube and libraries, that'd be super awesome. I'd love to look at that myself. I'm not an expert on that. So if we have any more questions, so Lisa, yeah, in terms of her not realizing how much time it takes, I don't know if you're like writing down your schedule and showing that to her, or if you have meetings that you're able to kind of really emphasize this takes a lot of time. And for us in our situation, we have almost no off desk hours. So all of our stuff is created on a service desk while we're helping patrons. So yes, yeah, TikTok is on our radar too, Sarah. Again, I highly recommend that webinar. Let me see if I can super quick find it. Ignore our terrible website. This is really bad. Yes, Kelsey Bogan's right here. So if you type in Kelsey TikTok library, it's this one right here, leveraging the power of your TikTok for your library. She's a high school librarian, so she talks a lot about all of that stuff. So hopefully that's helpful. And cool.
All right, well, Lisa, you can go ahead and stop the recording. I can stick around a little longer if there are other questions. And as I've said in the chat a couple of times, I will go through the chat and get all the resources that were mentioned, as well as gather a few examples of libraries who are using YouTube successfully, who would be open to being resources for folks. I'm going to drop the link one last time for